$1 billion. That was a terrible intro. Yeah, so I got this video from B1M, the B1M. He's got 3.5 million subscribers, and it's inside Europe's $1 billion abandoned mega build. $1 billion. So you built this thing, and you just let it go. Who does that? Why would you do that? I want to know. I'm going to dig in this guy's stuff. You can check out his channel. We're going to react to this. I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know why you would build anything for $1 billion and then just abandon it. Maybe because it was going to cost you $1 trillion, but that... Let's find out.
Whoa. The size of this place.
Volume.
So this huge building cost more than $1 billion to build. It was designed for thousands of people, but right now it's completely empty. This video is a bit different for us. But today, I'm taking you guys inside one of the biggest abandoned buildings in all of Europe.
That looks like something straight out of 1984, just saying. It's kind of weird. So it's multiple buildings. It's a mega build. So it's probably like a mall or something.
In 1979, a spaceship landed in West Berlin. It was the height of the Cold War, and Germany was cut in half. Just over here, the Soviets were building the Palace of the Republic, an enormous structure that would host the Parliament of East Germany. The West, meanwhile, was determined it could do anything the East could, but bigger and better. So West Berlin put forward the spaceship. It was to cost £1 billion marks to construct, making it the most expensive new building in the city since World War II. At its opening, then Federal President Walter Scheel declared it would outlast even the Great Pyramids of Giza.
No, fact check, false. There's no way. You got to make that thing out of stone. Rust. Rust.
Berliners gave that building a nickname. They called it the spaceship.
Even though it was partly built out of spite, this building has become something of an icon for Berlin. It's both embraced and despised, depending who you ask. In many ways, the construction of this place mirrors the story of Berlin itself. It's dark, it's techno, it's packed full of history, and steeped in the politics of the Cold War.
But in recent years, the ICC has come under threat and been left abandoned. Now, a new competition could be set to reinvent this spaceship for a Berlin that looks radically different.
There's just something about Berlin, particularly when it comes to architecture. It can be brash and cold, brutalist and modern, a real mix of architectural styles and time periods.
I do love that. If you guys saw my video and they don't make houses like they used to, I like the old architecture. I mean, this is much older than what I was talking about. It was like 1800s or whatnot. I'm assuming this is older, but like they don't make things like they used to. I think the spaceship thing that we're talking about here is still ugly, but that in particular right there, I don't know where that is. You let me know down in the comments. That's beautiful.
That's perhaps best represented by the International Conference Centre, or ICC, a building that's been dubbed by the locals here as the spaceship. But there's a lot more to this place than meets the eye. Inside is one of the biggest convention centres in the world, a place that housed what was the second largest stage in all of Europe.
And it holds a pretty remarkable engineering secret. You see, this isn't just one massive building. What you're looking at right now is the shell, and there's something incredible suspended inside. But to tell you the full story, we first have to go back in time. In the 1960s, Berlin was very much a city divided, both physically and ideologically. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was constructed to stop East Germans from fleeing to the west. It became one of the most potent symbols of the division in the country, separating families, friends, and communities. The East was communist-controlled, while the West was a democratic enclave supported by the British, Americans, and other Western powers. This was the Cold War, and it was competitive. If one side did something, so too did the other, whether that be stockpiling nuclear weapons or heading to the moon. Even
Yeah, that was a space race. Capitalism won. As far as I know, I mean, you limited on my low. Let's go.
something as small as city infrastructure became a way for both sides to try and show their superiority. The two cities began to have radically different architectural styles to reflect their opposing ideologies. East Berlin prioritised grand statement pieces that showcased the government's unopposed strength, like the Karl Marx Alley or the futuristic TV tower they planted at Alexanderplatz. It's a 638-metre watchtower that broadcast propaganda and could be seen from pretty much everywhere in both cities. For its part, the West retaliated with modernist architecture that symbolised progress, democratisation and technological achievements, such as the Berlin Philharmonie and the Tegel Airport Terminal.
That thing was ugly. That was ugly.
It was during this time that the East announced they would be replacing the now demolished Berlin Palace that once housed Prussian kings and German emperors with their own Palace of the Republic. Inside would be the Volkskammer, the Parliament of East Germany. This building was one of the most significant architectural projects of the German Democratic Republic. It featured luxurious materials that weren't common in the Soviet Union, including marble and wood panelling, making it one of the most extravagant structures in the entire country. Naturally, of course, the West had to respond. They put forward their own enormous, extravagant building. Only, instead of a palace, their building would be the largest congress centre in the world. Instead of housing a communist regime, theirs would hold international conferences and trade fairs. It would be a capitalist playground. This place would have another purpose too. To announce West Berlin as a hub for international business and culture, to declare that it could be its own city, not just an enclave in an increasingly unfriendly part of the world.
So I'm assuming he's going to answer this by the end, but is it used at all? Because it looks immaculate for not being used.
The political idea of this building was to set up a building which was the largest convention center in Europe, which was, of course, a political statement at that time. To have it in West Berlin, a city surrounded by communists and by Russian army.
Husband and wife architects Ralph Schuler and Ursulina Schuler-Witz were chosen to design the behemoth, and they conceived a futuristic high-tech structure unlike anything that had been seen before. They wanted to create a building that symbolised the modernity and technological advancement of the Berlin they wanted to live in. What they created was a striking mix of brutalism and high-tech architecture. You can see this in the exposed steel beams, sharp angles, and its machine-like aesthetic. This was technical optimism, and it represented all the hope that West Berliners had for the future. The space race as a convention centre.
It looks like a tin can. Just saying. It looks like a tin can.
That was probably the biggest construction site ever in West Berlin, and every time I drove by car with my parents, there was this huge construction site on the ground.
Construction works first started in 1973, and when it was completed in 1979, more than 900 million Deutsche Marks have been spent, making it the most expensive building in West Berlin since the end of World War II. At 320 metres long, 80 metres wide and 40 metres high, it was one of the largest buildings in the city. You could lie the Eiffel Tower down flat, and it would just about fit inside.
This site's also surrounded by pretty busy roads, so getting the soundproofing right was essential.
To ensure that noise and vibrations from the outside couldn't be felt inside, it was decided that the ICC would become a building within a building. This inner building would be enclosed in an independently constructed separate outer shell. Ironically, a kind of Russian doll of a structure. This inner building was made of reinforced concrete with pre-tensioned transverse divider elements as the main supports. The weight of the building was transferred down the divider elements to the foundations. Neoprene bearings were used to ensure technical separation from any exterior sounds or vibrations. Meanwhile, the outer building consisted of exterior walls and the roof, effectively forming a shell around the inner building. The walls and roof were built as a steel load-bearing structure.
This is one of those buildings that really isn't afraid to show off its structure. It was in fact one of the first in the world to start doing that. A lot of the really big engineering elements, instead of being hidden away, are brought out for the world to see, like those huge steel trusses you can see behind me. They carry the immense weight of what's inside this centre.
This building really does embrace its location at the axis of so many motorways. It even has a car foyer in the form of a drive-in level, which allows cars to arrive immediately below the main entrance.
Walking in here really is like stepping back in time. As soon as you come inside, that 1970s techno-optimism really hits you. This is the boulevard. This is level 0. This is what most people would have experienced as soon as they walked into this building. And it's like I've stepped onto the set of Star Wars. It really is out of this world.
From this boulevard, you can access staircases and escalators which are arranged like side roads, taking you up to the other levels of the building. This turns level 0 into a kind of traffic hub with its own road system for visitors.
When you enter this building, the first association you have, it's something beyond reality. You feel like being in a...
It looks like an airport. If he says airport here, I'll give you $1 billion. I got my fingers crossed.
very crazy movie.
Now, one thing you won't have failed to notice is the crazy lighting system above my head. It was designed by Berlin-based artist Frank Uhring. Red on one side, blue on the other. And the idea of that was to try and help people navigate and find their way around this absolute maze of a building. And that lighting system all comes together here above this central meeting point. This sculpture above me is called the Brain. And I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of unlike anything I've seen before.
Let me guess. It looks like a brain.
It is an enormous great thing. It spans 3 stories up through this building. And it's covered in neon lights. You can see these kind of like strands radiating out from it. They're designed to look like nerve fibers coming out and going out through the building. And the idea of this structure was quite
It looks like a helmet, like from, what is that? Troy or Tron? Right?
literally to break the ice and get people talking and to bring people together. Things don't get any less sci-fi as you move through the building. And then
That looks like something out of Star Wars. Straight up, like when they're in the middle of that room talking about how they're gonna get to the Death Star, I think that might be the same place.
there's a reason for that. The room I'm in now, one of the lecture halls, Hall 6, was actually modelled off Star Trek, one of the
Star Trek
television shows that were popular at the time. And you can really see where this building gets its nickname, the spaceship, not just outside, but inside as well. I feel like I'm in a movie right now. It's very, very cool. So this is probably the most impressive part of the ICC, right? It's called the main hall. It can seat 5,000 people and is the first conference room of its size ever constructed in Germany. And it can be made even bigger. The floor I'm currently standing on can be lifted up, connecting this hall to another massive hall through there and creating one of the biggest stages in Europe. But that's not all. These enormous rooms have another incredible secret. They're floating.
They're both suspended from the outer shell using a combination of advanced structural and mechanical design techniques.
Those massive steel trusses we showed you earlier extend up over the roof of the building.
So they're suspending it, and this is probably to deal with the noise from outside and then inside, I'm assuming. That makes sense. Hey, make sure you pick your products up down below if you're enjoying this video. Smash like. I was going to chew these up, and it doesn't work because of the green screen. These Joyrides from Ryan Trahan, that YouTuber. Dude, this is the best candy ever. Yeah, I'm 40. I'm eating candy. It's delicious, okay? I'll leave a link down below, my affiliate link, and then you can get on our mailing list and let me know what's up. Make sure you comment below and tell me what you think of this video. Do you like these videos? Do you not like these videos? Do you hate my opinion? Do you love my opinion? Do you like this guy's channel? The B1M. I think it's a pretty cool video, man. They put a lot of work into this. It is fascinating. I'm going really tongue-in-cheek here, but it's just me. It's really cool.
And they're the primary load-bearing components supporting those suspended halls that are sitting inside.
Halls 1 and 2 are directly suspended from these trusses using tension steel hangers.
Caring for my daughter
Oh,
at
hi,
home has
Karen.
become so easy since I discovered Entire Care. I'm compensated $1,500
Karen, I
per
don't have
month.
time for you.
Hangers or rods. They transfer the weight of the halls to the roof trusses. The trusses themselves are supported by massive steel columns and foundation points that distribute the weight down to the ground.
A really good way to show you how that works is with this very cool physical model of the ICC building. I love stuff like this. You can see up here these big steel roof trusses I just showed you. They're carrying the weight, the huge weight of those suspended theatres, transferring them across down the sides of the building through these steel columns and into the foundations in the ground.
By suspending halls 1 and 2, the architects effectively isolated them from vibrations and noise generated in other parts of the building, particularly the halls and spaces below and the surrounding motorways. That massively improves acoustics and means that more than one event can take place at the same time and that people can be as loud as they want to be. That suspended system has been designed to accommodate all kinds of loads, including those caused by crowd movement, equipment vibrations, and environmental factors like wind or even earthquakes.
It also frees up this massive space underneath and creates column-free spaces inside the halls. I have to say, I've had a good look around. I've tried to put this place through its paces, right? And there are literally no bad seats. It's a really clever and sophisticated engineering solution, and part of what makes this building such an architectural landmark.
But when it was completed and open to the public, the reaction was pretty mixed. While some praised its forward-thinking and bold design, others noted the enormous construction cost, equivalent to over $1 billion in today's money. Despite that, the building has developed an almost cult-like status and was given a...
We took, 7 years to build something, and the response from the public was typical. That's funny. Feel bad. Yeah, that's...
heritage listing in 2019.
Everyone who comes to Berlin and who passes by say, wow, what is that? That is incredible. What a iconic architecture. Only from the outside, but if you are inside, that's even more amazing. People came over from everywhere in the world to join the opening ceremonies for this building. So it was a very, very known building, not only in Berlin, but you can say in Europe. It was a very, very famous building.
But over the years, it's struggled to be maintained for its original purpose. It's just too huge. It was effectively closed and abandoned in 2014, and has been used as accommodation for refugees, a COVID vaccination centre, and as a space for art exhibitions.
That's... Yeah. Refugees, COVID, and art. That stinks. Why don't they divvy it up and turn it into like a mall or something like that, a commerce center or something? They're probably going to tear it down.
Within the last 10 or 20 years, there always was the idea of destroying the building, setting up something new, and there was always a big opposition against it because people love it. It's one of the most important sites of the city.
But now the city government really does want to rejuvenate this sleeping beauty. They're launching a competition where investors can apply to use and run the building.
I'm meeting people from all over the world, investors, architects, courageous people, innovative people that have ideas. It's not a competition where you just, say that is our concept and take it or don't take it, but it's a dialogue. So the idea is that the investor and the architects, they enter into a dialogue with the city of Berlin to have the most innovative concept for this building.
They'll be able to rent the ICC for free for 99 years and bring it back to life. The only prerequisite is that they have to remodel it and make it available for public use.
I think 99% of the Berliners love it. And they wish to be it open again because it's a public space also.
I mean,
There really is still a lot of love for this abandoned spaceship structure.
it looks like it's in good condition for sitting for 11 years. I mean, obviously lighting and filming, and they're not looking at where the rats are, but It looks pretty good. I think there's a lot of potential with this thing. I think it's a pretty cool build. I think it's a cool video. I think we'll end it here. But the B1M, cool video. I enjoyed it. What do you guys think that they could do with this building? Concert center, housing, a mall, commerce center. I don't know. You let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you then.